Chemistry with Pastor Dan. We're looking today at doing a lab. Now, I know we can't do a lab virtually, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the lab, and if you want to print it off, you can then go through and take the information that I did in the lab, and then you can work through the lab yourself in order to get the data. All right, so here we go. It's called the Law of Percentage Composition Lab, and what we're doing, if I can get this to come up, here we go. Oh, it's back here. We're doing this lab is we're going to take a ionic salt. Now, a salt is anything that is not an acid or a base that is ionic in nature. And the salt we're going to use is copper 2 sulfate. It's actually called copper 2 sulfate pentahydrate because it has 5 molecules of water in that. And what we're going to do is drive the water off, and what's left will be just copper sulfate. So we'll find out what percentage of that copper 2 sulfate pentahydrate is water using the process of percentage composition. So we're going to, in the lab, we were to heat a evaporating dish for 3 minutes, and I'll show you a picture of an evaporating dish. The reason we did 3 minutes is so that way it purifies. Now, back when I had more time, I used to have double periods. The students would heat it 3 times until we get a constant mass, but periods got shorter here, so therefore we had to compress it down. So we're just going to heat it 1 time. That's to purify it, drive off any excess water, allow it to cool, mass it, and then you're going to add 2.00 or as close as you can in grams of the copper 2 sulfate hydrate. And then you're going to, I had the students use a Bunsen burner. When I do the lab, I'm going to show you, I used a hot plate, just a little bit faster. And you have to be very careful with that because it's really easy to burn it. It's also, if you don't move it around an awful lot, the water can cause it to pop. And as it pops, the material flies out and it's on the table and you can't test it then, so that doesn't work very well. And then once it's it's like a whitish color, you pull it off the side, allow it to cool, mass it back up. Using those values, we tried to determine the amount of water that was in it. Now, I had pre-lab questions. Lab equipment that the salt was heated in, if I said that's in an evaporating dish right here, mentions that. What salt is used, remember that's copper 2 sulfate. Substance that's driven away when heating, hopefully you know that was water. The heating, what we use to heat in the lab, it's a Bunsen burner. I told you it was going to be a hot plate. And then the apparatus to take measurement, that's electronic balance. All right, so here we go. We're going to take the mass of an empty evaporating dish, mass of it before heating it, mass of it after heating it, then the calculations we're going to do. We're going to find the mass of hydrated salt. So we're going to take the mass of the salt before heating and the empty, and that's going to give me how much of that was the salt. And then the mass of water, we're going to take the, actually it should be C minus B. We're going to take B minus C, the potassium, the preheated salt and the post-heated salt, and that difference is how much water was driven off. Then we'll divide them and multiply by 100. Then again, we're going to do percentage error. We talked about that earlier. The equation is the absolute value of true value minus experimental value divided by true value times 100. It says in here the true value is 36.0% water. Your experimental value is what you find out here, and then times 100. Remember, acceptable error is 10% or less. So if it's under 10% in the conclusion, you'll say errors in acceptable limits. If it's over 10%, you have to explain it why without blaming yourself, your partner, or your lab instructor, so that way no one gets offended, and also you don't have to go back and do it again. In this case, you could talk about the fact that we didn't have enough time to properly heat the evaporating dish, the fact that the process of the Bunsen burner wasn't very controlled, so therefore it's very easy to either burn or not drive off enough of the copper 2 sulfate. So that's the lab, that's the way it works. Okay, so let's look at the calculations that I did. So here is my evaporating dish. And that's what an evaporating dish, this is my electronic balance. When I massed them together, I got 70.29 grams. Okay, I then masked it with copper 2 sulfate. And copper 2 sulfate, that's that really blue stuff on the bottom. The mass is 72.30, so it was over by 0.1, so I have 2.01 grams here of copper 2 sulfate. And then the heating process, I said I use a hot plate, and then I would take a spatula and move it around to keep it from burning and keep it from popping and things along that line. And at the end, here's the mass we have. You can see that lighter color. We have 71.63. Again, the mass is less, so therefore we drove off. So we can use those values to calculate and then discuss and write your conclusion. Okay, that's the lab. Hopefully that wasn't too bad. Take care. God bless. Bye.